myself, but that of another man. For why is my freedom judged by another's conscience? Again, it's this euphemism for the law always. Do not give any occasion of stumbling either to Jews or to Greeks. So watch what you do when they're around, basically, is what he's saying. Let me see, is there anything more on that one? Well, he does institute communion in the next chapter 11. This is the new covenant of my blood, and so on, etc. And so he does jump from things sacrificed to idols into communion, like I told him. But I think he makes it clear now. He says, I will never eat meat again, right? If it causes my brother to stumble. 2 chapters later, he says he's going to eat meat again. Let me show you what he thinks of vegetarians. Oh, they don't know. He's not a liar. He's a Greek to the Greek, a Jew to the Jew, a lawkeeper to lawkeeper. He says it right outright, what he does. He'll do anything he has to do to win, and he wins. He can't lose because his program is much more effective than theirs. Like here in Romans, he's saying it's not right to eat or drink wine or do anything when your brother stumbles or is scandalized. It's in Romans 13 and 14. But at the beginning of 14, he starts the whole thing again. He's consistent, though. In Romans, he's a little bit better behaved. Not quite as straightforward. Receive him who is weak in the faith, not in order to judge his opinion. One believes he may eat all things. Another, being weak, eats only vegetables. There you go. The weaklings eat only vegetables. Come on now. Let's be honest and fair. Does that speak to the modern generation? Don't we in the modern generation think that people who eat vegetables are strong? Do we think they're weaklings? I don't think so. I think most people think anyone who can keep a vegetarian diet is showing strength. So you have to know the kind of person you're dealing with here in Paul, and you've got to then realize that the people in Jerusalem must not have known how to deal with him. That he would have been an extremely, what I would call, loose cannon. Someone that you really would have a lot of trouble coping with. What do you think? It would just be a difficult person. I mean, regardless of what side you're on. He may be right in everything he says. I'm not saying he isn't right. I'm a Paulinist. But I have to be honest. I mean, would you like someone like this in your movement? Would you depend on him to see it through the way you instructed him or anything like that? I mean, this guy is a handful of trouble for the Jerusalem leadership. You say, well, they're wrong and he's right. Okay, it may be. But that may be that Jesus was wrong too. Because you say, well, we know what Jesus thought. He thought like Paul. How do we know that? It just doesn't make any sense that Jesus could have thought like Paul. Because how come his companions didn't know it? That's my conundrum. I don't know if you guys follow me or not. I know your churches will tell you that this is wrong what I'm saying and that you should, etc. It's still something in an academic framework that is worthwhile pursuing, because in church you can easily do what you want in church, and that's an inspiring experience, and that's good. It may be the right way. But in academia, it's not a church, and we have to make these investigations, I think, and I think it's fair if you care about Jesus. Again, I go back to it. I think Jesus would certainly, I don't see how they could have gotten Jesus wrong. So now the question is, do you believe in a supernatural Christ? Do you believe there is a Christ in heaven giving orders to Paul in a supernatural way? That's really what it comes down to, because that's what he's saying. And that's what he's doing. That may be true, and then again, that may bring you right back into the Paul camp. So again, that's a private decision for all you guys to make. And my Jesus looks like James. And someone else's Jesus looks like Paul. So basically, the historical Jesus issue, I think, comes down to the fight between Paul and James, which is why I am bringing it up in this class. So I think when you solve that to your own satisfaction, you solve the issue of the historical Jesus. And I don't ask you to take whichever side you think is right. But my Jesus looks like James, and your Jesus can look like Paul. That's fair enough. No one says not. That's what most people think. Most I think the issue is maybe 10 million to 1 on that particular one. So I don't think you're in any danger of losing that particular argument in terms of numbers. But soul and Jesus is another question. Okay, James says, I judge to abstain from the pollutions of the idols. I've just read the Damascus document again with my Dead Sea Scrolls class last night, and over again they talk about pollutions of the idols and the community rule. I mean, it is almost like word for word out of this judgment things that you see there. I can't see that one did not know the other. It just is like overwhelming when you look at those things. He repeats this in line 29. Abstain from things slightly differently, from sacrificed idols, blood. So that's what I said. Look, I told you, Paul does not think you should abstain from things sacrificed idols, only when you got weaklings around. Right? He doesn't think you should abstain from blood. He doesn't care about strangled things. Eat anything sold in the butcher shop. Don't make questions about conscience. He doesn't even follow these elementary regulations here. He's totally on his own, and he's a winner. Okay. So, having read this, they delivered the letter to Antioch, and Judas and Silas, they were prophets too, 32. Also encouraged the brothers who is this Judas Barsabbas? Another Judas. When's the last Barsabbas we heard of? Beginning in the election to replace the 12th apostle. He was the defeated candidate, Joseph Barsabbas, Justus. To my name, these Barsabbas names relate to the family of the Messiah. How they relate is another matter. They could be, Bar Abba is son of the father. Bar Saba may be slightly different. I think it has to do with bathing. In Aramaic and Syriac, the sub-bands were bathers, because to immerse yourself had something to do with the root Sabah. Maybe son of the bather or something like that. Bar is son of. So I don't know who they are, but again, they have it's another of these family names, like Jesus' brothers, Judas, Simon, Joses, and so on. Now, these fellows take the letter down to Antioch. Remember in Eusebius, the correspondence to Edessa again?